Hi everyone, welcome to Traveling Misknits. My name is Pia and I am so happy that you're joining me here in Italy today for a little chat about my crochet and my knitting. This week I have been dedicating quite a lot of time to fixing older makes. I have been doing some sweater surgery, I have been doing a blanket extension, and I'm really happy that I did those things. Especially with sweaters, what will sometimes happen to me is as I'm knitting myself a sweater, I will be thinking of ways to wear it, ways of styling this knit. And those thoughts will, of course, inform some of the decisions that I make during the knitting process. And yeah, then sometimes reality will roll around and just show me, no, I'm not gonna wear this sweater over a dress, mainly because I don't really wear dresses. And I will be stuck with a sweater that's not exactly how I wanted. But there's always a fix. We're gonna talk about that later, how there's always a fix. Sometimes it can be difficult to think of the fix. Sometimes it can seem really daunting, but there's always a fix. I also have a brand new cast on to share, and I have some progress on my reflection shawl. And I think we're gonna start with the reflection shawl because this project is just bringing me so much joy. Oh my goodness, I am losing stitches. I am also really enjoying taking my time this time around. My first two reflection shawls, I was speeding through them. The first one, because it felt urgent. I was knitting it as a memory shawl. I was knitting all of my memories of my mom into it. I was working through all of these emotions, the sadness, the loss, the joy, the love, the everything, and I wasn't able to put it down. And the second version, I was speeding through it because at that point I had decided to release a pattern for the reflection shawl, and I wanted another sample. I also wanted to double, triple, quadruple check my instructions. Even though, of course, I had a great team of testers, I still wanted to make sure. So for this one, I am taking my time and enjoying it. I do have stitch stoppers. You wouldn't think so after I just dropped all of those stitches, but I do have stitch stoppers. And because this is a project that is so close to my heart, I have of course chosen the stitch stoppers with the little sloths because the sloth is my spirit animal. As I was approaching my 60th birthday, I decided I'm gonna stop pretending to be someone that I'm not. I'm gonna embrace my inner sloth. I'm gonna take it to heart and allow it to be here. So, yeah, sloth stitch stoppers. This version of the shawl is knit as a celebration of love. I do talk about that on some of my previous episodes. And in the pattern, there are also some guidelines for a shawl to celebrate love and lots of other shawls because this pattern is, to me, it's a spiritual knit. It's not a project knit. It's not because I need another shawl. This is my mindful making, my contemplative crafting, and I am really enjoying working I like that, adding the spiritual aspect to my knitting. I do make it a point to work on it every single day for several reasons. Because, I mean, it is a spiritual practice to me. I don't want to let that fall to the wayside. That would be so weird. But also the contemplations, the reflections that go along with this shawl, they're important to me, and I want to keep them front and center. I want to keep them fresh in my mind so that they can facilitate the change that I want to see. That, I think, is easiest done if it's kept fresh. If it's not something that I just pick up every now and then. I do knit on this every single day. I don't always knit a lot on it. Sometimes it's just a little bit, but I do it every day. I pick up my shawl, I set my intentions, I bring my reflections up, and I enjoy it so much. You can see it's been 2 weeks since I showed you, and this is where I was. So it's not a lot of knitting. Of course, there are still a lot of stitches on the needles at this point, but you know, it's growing faster and faster, which is not the point, but still interesting. I do think that I will very soon, I will add in a navy blue, stripe it in place of the brown, so that I will have navy blue and black stripes for a while. The navy blue is leftovers from the shawl that I knit as a memory shawl. So this is some Holst Super Soft. A lot of these yarns are, I'm not sure what they are. There is some Holst Super Soft, and definitely this is also Holst Super Soft. But what I want to do is I want to make this side of the shawl me and Peter both. Peter is a lot about the browns and the blues. I love the blacks and the grays. So the other side of the shawl is going to be 100% me. It's going to be this sandy, grayish, beige, and then probably with some bands of mosaic knitting in the black. But on this side, I want to introduce the blue to bring Peter into this knit. I'm not sure when it's going to happen. I'll have to play around with the proportions of the shawl. But again, in the pattern, there are some ideas for how to play with the proportions and where to place your blocks if you are blocking colors. So I'm gonna look into that probably today before I continue working on the shawl. But yeah, for now, I am just really enjoying taking my time, relaxing into the stitches, being present as I am creating stitches, just going with it, allowing the knit to be the center, allowing the knit to decide what should happen next. It was the knit that told me that I needed navy blue. I had no idea I needed navy blue. That's not my color. It's not a color that I usually gravitate towards, but the knit clearly told me we're going to need navy blue. So of course I'm going to do that. My other reflection shawls, I have had a much clearer plan as I set out to knit them. But with this one, I had a color story, I had a type of yarn. I wanted colors that I was comfortable with. I wanted something comfortable, something that just felt like I could relax into it and be at ease with. The yarns, I wanted some rustic, fine yarns because they are so enjoyable to knit with and to wear, by the way. All of these yarns are going to need a good blocking before they're going to be enjoyable to wear. Some of them still has some spinning oil in them. Some of them are just very rustic. So I'm going to do what I always do when I work with rustic yarns. I'm going to put them in a hot, hot, hot bath. I'm going to take the warmest water that I can get from our tap. I'm going to fill a big bucket, add just a little bit of no rinse wool soap. Then I'm going to place the finished knit on top of the water, and I'm going to walk away from it. And I'm going to stay away for at least 8 hours, maybe even more. I'm not going to push it under. I'm not going to mess with it at all. And the easiest way to not mess with it is to walk away. So that's what I'm going to do. Woolly yarns, they won't felt just from warm water or even from warm water and soap. But if you start messing with them once you have the warm water and the soap, then you can actually force them to felt. Another way that you can force a yarn to felt is with big changes in temperature. So if I were to take this very hot bath, push my knit under, and then pull it up and into a colder bath to clean it, that would, no, we don't want to do that. We want to maintain the same temperature or let the temperature drop gradually, which it will do over a course of 8 hours. The temperature is going to drop very slowly, gradually, and by the end of all these hours, I can pull out my knit and it will be soft. It will bloom. There will be a little more drape to it. It will completely change. As you can see right now, it's a little bit see-through. See, you can see me through the knit. The yarn is going to bloom and this is going to fill out and it's going to look absolutely marvelous. So yeah, enchanted with this project. I think you can tell it is such a pleasure to be working on that. The new cast on I was talking about is something very uninteresting. It is just that all of the projects that I have going at this point, the blankets, or they're sweaters that are almost done, or they're my big shawl. I needed something small, something portable, something to bring with me when we are out and about. So of course, I cast on a pair of socks. The socks that I cast on are very different from the socks that I usually make. These are DK weight, and they're ribbed socks. So I'm pretty far away from the camera today, but I hope that you can still see. I am using this sock yarn. It doesn't have a label or anything. It's a sock yarn that I used to sell. I still have a ton of it. I really like it. I love the moral effect. I'm holding it double for a DK weight sock because I'm thinking big, thick, cozy, rustic socks to wear with my boots, and then make them long enough that they will stick out of the boots. That's going to look amazing, I think. I did cast on with a black, just some black wool that I had here. I didn't knit with it at all. I just did the cast on. Then I did one round of knit stitches in the mold yarn here, and then I started the ribbing. And I did a 1-by-1 ribbing for the cuff before I then went into the 2-by-2, just because I think it looks neater. I like a cuff, even on a ribbed sock. I think if I just go directly into the 2-by-2 ribbing, it's gonna look unfinished in a way. I don't know. It's just, that's my brand of crazy. But yeah, I have 48 stitches, which is a lot for a DK weight sock, but I am using a very, very fine needle. This is a 2.5 millimeter. So that is a very fine needle for a DK weight. But one, I am a loose knitter. Two, I wanted a very a sturdy material because I am hard wearing on my socks for some reason. And three, this was the needle that was available to me. I didn't want to go out and buy new needles. So 2.5 millimeters it is. And then I adjusted my stitch count. I cast on with 44 stitches and I could tell it's going to be too small. So I just added some extra stitches. And it's fine. I can get the cuff over my foot. I just thought, no, I'm going to need just a little more fabric to be really comfortable, to not have the ribbing stretched out too violently. So yeah, really enjoying these. I mean, 10 minutes of knitting and you can tell that you've been going at it because it is a DK weight sock. So I am having fun with these. Okay, let's talk fixes because I fixed my Fern Forest. When I knit this first version, I knit it quite short because, as I kind of hinted in the beginning, I thought I would wear it over dresses. So I thought, oh, it needs to be short to be worn over a dress so that I don't become this big blob. I need a line just below my natural waist. And I was also thinking, well, I can also wear this with high-waisted shorts or skirts. The thing is, when I wear a dress, it's because it is so hot that I can barely breathe, or because I'm going to some fancy event. I don't wear dresses a lot. I wear shorts. I do have high-waisted shorts, but I also have some that are like mid-waist, like these, or even a little lower. And I want to be able to wear my Fern Forest with everything that I own. So the second version, the green one, I knit it just a little bit longer so that it hit the top of my hip bone. And I loved that length. And it was like, no, I wish I made the other one longer. This is not something that is an easy fix. If this was knit top down, I could just have picked out the bind off, knit the ribbing a little longer, or I could even have unraveled the ribbing and added an extra pattern repeat if that was what I wanted. This is knit bottom up, and that does make things just a little bit more complicated. I couldn't just pick up the stitches in the ribbing, because if I had done that, when you pick up stitches and start knitting the other direction, the stitches are going to be off. They're going to be like, instead of being in a straight line, I don't know that I'm explaining this very well. Instead of being in a straight, continuous line, they're going to be just half a stitch off. That is just the nature of knitting, is how you create the stitches. So I knew that I had to remove all of the ribbing. And I also knew that I wasn't gonna, because one thing I could have done, I could have cast on a new ribbing. I could have knit the ribbing and an extra pattern repeat and then grafted the two pieces together. But I knew I didn't want to do that. Too much of a commitment. And also I only needed a few centimeters. So I cut off the ribbing, I picked up the stitches, and then I just worked a longer rib and I blocked it rather aggressively, and now it fits me exactly the way I want. It was, again, just a few centimeters that I needed, just enough to not give everyone a show every time I move around. Now I can even lift my arms without showing too much skin. I think it looks so cute on other people. I don't want to be showing off anything in this department here. So a relatively easy fix. And I also mentioned a couple of not so easy fixes that I could have done. The problem with bottom up sweaters is, of course, that the length is not as easily adjustable. I do have in my whip pile back in Denmark a sweater that is, again, a little bit too short. I was sure I was going to wear it over dresses. It is knit top down, so I could just unravel and make it a little shorter. The thing is, it has like quite a wide section of color work just before the ribbing. And my biggest problem with the sweater is not so much the length. I could probably live with that. But the way this color work, it hits me right below the chest, not where everything has stopped happening, but just under the highest point of my bust. And it just looks weird. The proportions are not right for me. I am extremely short-waisted, so I need to be careful with the proportions. And this one doesn't have the right proportions. It needs extra length in the big section knit in the main collar. So what I'm going to do for that one is I'm going to pick up stitches just like I would for an afterthought heel. Going to pick up the stitches on 2 rows, and then I'm just going to snip the yarn and unravel so that I have the bottom part of the sweater on one needle and the top part on another. Then on the top part I can add however much extra length I want, or rather I can add however much extra length that I have yarn for, and then I can graft the two pieces together again. If you have a bottom-up sweater where you don't like the neckline, again, not a huge deal, unless of course you already attached the sleeves, then it's a bigger deal. But if you discover before you add the sleeves, not a big deal. But if you don't like the neckline on a top-down sweater, it's a little more difficult. For necklines in general, whether they are bottom-up or top-down, if you want to change them, I recommend sticking. I recommend putting in some needles or a little thread to show where do you want your neckline to be, and then using a sewing machine to just zigzag along that line and cut. You'll be fine, no worries. Then you can add a new neckline that's a little bit larger. Now, if you want your neckline a little bit smaller, what I would do is I would pick up the stitches from the yoke before you added the neckline as such. And then I would just do some rapid decreasing, just enough that you are cinching in the fabric and then knit a new neckline. If you're going to do that, of course you are going to be, again, as we talked about, knitting in the opposite direction. So I would probably do something to mitigate that, either putting in a stripe or adding an Estonian braid, like just one stitch that you knit across the sweater, something to disguise this line where the stitches are offset. It's definitely doable. If you have a sweater that is just too warm, like my wonderful friend Belinda from Texas, at one point we were talking about, she had this sweater, big, beautiful, beautiful cabled sweater that she had put so much work into. She didn't use it because a big cabled sweater is just not what you're going to reach for in Texas. But then we talked about why not steeking it, making it into a cardigan. And she did go ahead and do just that. Such an easy fix. You just, if it was me, I would probably pick out the neckline and then I would steek. I would add fronts and then I would add a neckline at the end. Such an easy fix. Everything that I just said about modifying the length of the body of the sweater, of course, also applies to sleeves. You can easily make your sleeves a little longer or, of course, a little bit shorter. I mean, if you want to shorten the length of either the body or the sleeve, and let's say you're working with a mohair yarn, you don't want to unpick the entire ribbing, then you again just use the afterthought heel method. You pick up the stitches on 2 rows and cut your yarn, and you can then unravel some of the stockinette stitch part of the body without having to redo the entire ribbing after. And that goes for sleeves and body alike. Now, if you don't like the width of either body or sleeves, I mean, if they're too wide, steek it. Just, again, pull out that sewing machine, zigzag over it and cut it off and you're good to go. Of course, if you don't like your sleeve because it's like a bat wing sleeve and it goes down too far, it's going to be a bit more of an operation. But of course you can do it. You can zigzag until you get the perfect sleeve of fit of the sleeve, and then you just mattress stitch the 2 sides together so that it still looks like it's knit in the round. If you have cast on a lot of stitches under the arms, then it's going to be a little bit more difficult. But again, place your sweater on a flat surface and try to just put in needles where you want them to be, how you want your sweater to be shaped. I have successfully steeked a bat wing sweater into a more form-fitting sweater. That was back in the 80s, where everything was really bat wing, like going from the cuff to the rib of the sweater, and I did not like it. I simply just cut off the extra fabric and mattress stitch everything together. But what if it's too narrow? Of course you can steek it open at the sides, knit an extra panel and mattress stitch it on, but it's going to be difficult. If it's too narrow, I would say there are 2 choices. You can make it into a cardigan, steek it open, make it into a cardigan, or you can gift it to someone who will love it. But hey, if you guys have any tips and tricks for how to change a sweater that you don't love, please put them in the comment section below. That way, maybe we can create kind of a library of ideas on how to fix our sweaters, so that the next time we're in our closet and we pull out this beautiful sweater that we knit years ago but never wear because it's not perfect, the fit is not what we wanted, then we can go back and we can see, well, are there any ideas for how to fix this one? Another thing that I fixed this week was this blanket. This cozy granny stripe blanket. That was my Advent blanket 2 years ago. It is very, very scrappy, as I like my blankets to be. If it's a scrappy blanket, I want it really scrappy. I change colors all the time. Constantly changing the colors and just making sure that I am within the same color story, so to speak. Just because, as much as I appreciate other people's really crazy scrappy blankets, it's not my aesthetic. I probably wouldn't be happy with the end result. But making it super, super scrappy is just my jam, as long, again, as I am within the same color family. This one, I made it the width that I usually make my blankets, like hand to hand, about 1.5 meters. But it turned out too skinny. I just kept it down here, threw it on the couch, and it just looked skimpy as it was laying there. So I decided I don't want to just crochet it longer, because it's actually not the length that's the problem. It is the width. So what I decided to do to make it wider is add a border of tiny granny squares. I crocheted up all of the granny squares. Then I crocheted one round where I just crocheted into the stitches of the sides of the blanket, and at the same time attaching these little squares that I made. And then after adding those, I added first around in some very dark to like frame the little granny squares, so that they had some dark where they started, some dark where they ended. A round of some scraps, and then a round of a quite light gray to sort of frame the whole thing. Just to frame the little squares together with the stripes to make it into one blanket visually. And then I decided to ground everything with one round in a dark brown. And yeah, now I'm loving it. Now it's the right size. And now I can easily work it even bigger, because I just left the edges raw, so I can just at any point pick up some scrap yarns and a crochet hook and add extra rounds to my blanket. So I'm very, very happy that I did that. But actually doing that made me second guess my choice about my corner crochet blanket. I showed that, I think it was last week, I showed that I had started squaring it off, not making it any wider. And I am second guessing my decision. I may go back and just pull out those, it's what, 5 rows or something like that. Pull those out and continue increasing in both sides until it's maybe 170, which would be around fingertip to fingertip on me. So yeah, as I'm saying it now, I can hear myself saying it, and I'm like, yeah, that is definitely what I'm gonna do, because the corner to corner blankets have such neat edges. I would hate to add something to those. I would much rather just make it right the first time. So as soon as I am done recording, I am gonna go in there, unravel those couple of rows, and continue my increases. But yeah, that was it for the creative content this week. I hope that you have some ideas, suggestions for sweater surgery, or ways to deal with those makes that didn't turn out perfect. Because we want things to be just the way we want them, which may not be perfect, but perfect in our eyes. I mean, most of my blankets have little mistakes galore, and that's okay. The mistakes can be there. The mistakes just add to the story of this being a slow process, a hand-knit object, not just something that was pulled off of a shelf. So, life in general this week has been quiet. It's been so warm. It's been unbearably warm. Today it is cooling down slightly, which is amazing. And we just talked about before I started recording that tonight we're gonna walk down the mountain to a restaurant that we really enjoy. It's at the foot of the mountain. It's a tigelleria. Tigella are they're a bit like pancakes, only they're bread, but they have the shape of little blini, little pancakes. They are delicious. And they are served with a spread of different meats and cheeses from the area. And it's such a nice meal to just sit there and pick in these little thingies. So we talked about walking down the mountain, and then of course we're gonna have to walk back up, but that's okay. It is, as I said, much cooler today. Plus, before we're done having dinner, it's definitely gonna be cool enough for us to climb the mountain. Other than trying to survive in the heat, there hasn't been happening a lot. This has been our vacation week. We have both been working a bit, but we've also just been relaxing, decompressing, slowly settling into being just us again after a full month of having all of the kids and the grandkids around us. We love to spend time with our kids and grandkids. But just being us. After the first pain of goodbye, it's quite okay. We have been watching some television. We've been watching Mobland, which, wow, we love that show. We don't really have anything to watch right now, so if you have any suggestions, please let me know. I'm still reading Mr. Mercedes. I like it. It's not like I can't pull myself away from it, but I like it. It's very different from the other Stephen King books. So if you don't like the King books because of all the creepiness and the mystery things, this reads more like a crime novel, and it's well done. So enjoying that. Every night before I go to sleep, I add a little reading, and that's not Stephen King. Before bed, I read something beautiful. It can be poetry or it can be prose, but it needs to be something beautiful, something that tickles my brain. Right now, I am reading the 7 Gothic Tales by Karen Blixen. Karen Blixen has a special place in my heart. I love everything that she wrote. So I am enjoying reading through the 7 Gothic Tales again. Just if you're in the mood for something beautiful. And of course, I don't know how well they translate these books. They don't translate. She wrote them in English, so probably the language is going to be as exquisite in the English versions as it is in the Danish. But yeah, I am going to end things here. Thank you so much for watching. We will talk again next week. If you have any suggestions for special things that we could talk about, please let me know in the comment section below. Until next week, stay happy, stay safe, and keep knitting.